casual today. These plants are here so that I remember to pot them. If they're there, my brain will remember you need to do this. Hello. Welcome, my name is Michaela, this is Meekela Reads. I live here, and it is no secret to anyone at the moment that I have not been reading at all. What also hasn't changed is my book buying habits. And as a result of not reading and continuing to buy as many books as I normally do, my TBR is growing out of control. So instead of actually reading them, I'm going to sit here and tell you about why I think some of them are going to become some of my new favorite books, some of my 5-star predictions, if you will, as much as we can rate books on a 5-star scale. This is just my prediction of the ones that I think are gonna blow me like out of the water and that I'm genuinely going to enjoy. The point of this and the hope is that it will motivate me enough to want to actually pick them up and read them rather than just having them sit on my bookshelf for months or years. So I have 2 categories of books that I want to go through today. We have our contemporary, romance, other general fiction books, and then we have our fantasy books and other sub-fantasy genres amongst that. As always here on this channel, I do not know what the books are about because I haven't read them yet. So I may get the synopses wrong. If that is the case, I will amend it when I do actually read the book. Secondly, this will be an interesting test to see if I do actually like the books that I think I'm going to like, and it might help me like narrow my book buying purchases in the future if I know what I do and don't like, and it might limit the amount of books that I actually try to purchase in the future. That's the hope. Regardless, let's talk about some books and why I feel like these are going to be my 5-star predictions. Let's start with the romance / contemporary / other genre category. First up, we have 2 new releases that I think I'm going to like. These are probably the 2 that I'm least confident that I will actually have them be 5-star. But I've liked books from these authors in the past, so I'm going to assume that I will like these ones as well. We'll go in order of release. First is Happy Place by Emily Henry. This is her newest release. It came out this year and it has had rave reviews from everyone who has read it. People are saying that this is the best Emily Henry book that they have read. I thought her other ones were okay. I hear that she's really stepped up her game with Happy Place. This is, as far as I know, a second chance romance. We follow Harriet and Wynne. They previously were together. They haven't told their friends that they've broken up, and so they end up having to stay together in this cabin amongst a breakup but not a breakup. I don't know. It sounds like it's going to be very tense, very emotionally charged, but I'm skeptical because second chance romance and friends to lovers is not typically a trope that I will gravitate towards. But like I said, I enjoyed Emily Henry's last couple of books, and if this one's better, then I'm hoping that it changes my mind. It turns things around. Next. On the enemies to lovers front, we have Love Theoretically by Ali Hazelwood, who is an author of mine at this point. This is a contemporary enemies to lovers romance, as most of her books are. The love hypothesis took the internet by storm. The second one was good. It wasn't as good as the first one, but then I don't know if that's just because I had such high expectations for the second one because of the first one. And so subsequently, this one I have even lower expectations of than I had for the second one. However, I have always liked reading Ali Hazelwood's romances. I think she has a way of developing character chemistry that really tugs at my heartstrings and makes me feel really actually quite giddy when I'm reading the book. I get excited. I feel the secondhand romance feelings that the characters are feeling, which doesn't always happen. This book follows Elsie. She is a thermodynamics teacher. However, she also has like this little side hustle where she basically is a fake girlfriend for hire. Her favorite client's older brother is someone who works with her and ruined someone that she looked up to's career. And I'm going to assume that they are the enemies to lovers of the series. I feel like this is going to become a higher star rating or a 5-star rating, mostly because I haven't read a book that has made me feel like an Ali Hazelwood book has felt in a long time. So actually reading an Ali Hazelwood book for the first time in a long time is gonna do wonders, I hope, for bringing me out of this months-long reading slump that I have found myself in. Next, we have a couple of like older releases. These are not new releases in the slightest. I bought them when they were new releases. Once again, book buying habits haven't changed. Dating Dr. Dill by Nisha Sharma. This was another book that came as a part of Book of the Month last year. sometime. And again, swept the internet by storm. I have a few people that I know that don't typically read romances say that they really, really enjoyed this one and that it is a bit of a bisexual dreamboat. This is a steamy contemporary romance. We follow Karina Mann, who is a bit of a romantic. She loves a good love story and wants a love story of her own that rivals that of her parents. However, she kind of strikes up a deal with her dad to marry within a short period of time because he's about to sell her mother's house and she wants to buy it. So she says to him, if I can get married in this amount of time, will you give me the house? And he says, yes, yes you may. Enter Dr. Prem Verma, who is a doctor on the Dr. Dill show, when he and Karina get into essentially what I assume is an argument, and apparently it goes viral, and then they are kind of like forced together into this situation, I would assume. I feel like I have been craving a romance that is going to suck me in and remind me why I love reading. Remind me why I like doing this hobby that I've had for more than half of my life. Next. Bunny by Mona Awad. This is a creepy and, from what I understand, really quite odd and bizarre contemporary fiction book. It follows Samantha. She attends Warren University. I believe it's writing of some type? Fiction writing, there we go. And she cannot stand this other group of girls that are in her college, but they all call each other Bunny, and it's like this weird interaction that they all have together, and our main character is like, I don't like that. However, she gets invited there, and she's curious, and then I think she gets sucked into whatever rabbit hole this is. I'm just excited because I think it's gonna be different. It's gonna be weird, and I think I just need that little refreshing kick from all of the other things that we commonly get in fiction and romance these days. I just want something different. I just want a different flavor. For that reason, I think it's going to be high up on my list. I feel like it's gonna kind of stand on its own in its own kind of genre, and I won't really have much to compare it to because this is not something that I typically read. We'll see if I fit in with the masses. Next, The Lesbiana's Guide to Catholic School. In this one, we follow Yamilet. She is the only Mexican girl at her very white Christian school that she goes to. For various different reasons that I am not entirely clear on, she has to pretend that she is not in fact gay. However, that gets really tough when she starts to kind of fall for the only other openly gay person at her school. And so she has to battle with these feelings and this conflict within herself to make sure that she doesn't accidentally out herself as gay, but also manage having a crush on another girl in the school. Could you imagine? That would be torture. I hear it's hilarious. I hear that it is heartwarming and fantastic, and I'm very, very excited to jump into this one. Also, the cover is beautiful. Look at those colors. Next, As Long as the Lemon Trees Grow by Zulfa Katul. In this, we follow Salama. She is a Syrian woman. She is working as a pharmacy assistant. However, the conflict in Syria starts to occur. She ends up working in a hospital. Her sister is pregnant. She's trying to find a way to get out of Syria and away from the conflict, but then also fighting within herself. She is stuck between feeling loyalty to her country and wanting to stay and to fight for her home and for what she believes in, but then also wanting to survive. There is also a section where her PTSD manifests as a small character that follows her alongside, and I just feel like it's going to be fantastic. Again, everyone who I know has read it has said that they loved it. I have not heard a single bad review about it so far, and to be even more like convincing as to why this is going to be a good read, this is going to be a 5-star, is that there's a sticker on the front that says guaranteed great read or your money back. Bold claim, Bloomsbury, bold claim. Okay. The next book kind of straddles the two, and it is The Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. A new word for this genre that I have just learned is romantasy, and I feel like we should have been using this years ago. The Fourth Wing is the latest book to have swept the internet by storm. People are calling it akin to A Court of Thorns and Roses in terms of addictive and romance and fantasy elements. I've seen a lot of fan art. It all looks fantastic. There's dragons, there's trials, there's like a school element. There are all of the things that I like in a fantasy book with a really, really good romance subplot, apparently. My question is it actually as good as everyone says it is, and I have avoided every single video that has been recommended to me on YouTube that says, is this book worth it? Because I do not want to have any expectations. I do not want to have any preconceived notions of other people liking or not liking it. I just know that the general consensus is that it's good. I am conflicted though about when I'm going to read it, because this is, as I said in previous videos, I do need to finish reading The Priory of the Orange Tree before I do this, because I can only do one dragon fantasy book at a time. And also it has been announced that it's going to be like a 7-book series. Should I just wait for more of them to come out before I read it? Vote in the comments. All right, moving on to the fantasy portion. First is Gideon the Ninth by Tamsin Muir. I have owned this book for years and I still haven't read it. This is, I think, a 4-book series at this point, and I'm actually a little bit glad that I haven't read it until now, because now I actually get to read all 4 of them if I like it, if it is in fact a 5-star read. My understanding of the many times that I've attempted to read the synopsis of this book, we follow Gideon and Harrow. Harrow is the daughter of the person in charge of the 9th house. She has to go through a trial, but essentially she can't make it through and she can't win without a sword or a secondary cavalry person, who I'm going to assume is Gideon. Gideon does not want to do any of this. Gideon just wants to take her dirty magazines and her sword and leave. The tagline I have used every single time I've tried to describe this is lesbian necromancers, which I'm very here for. But I also think that it's got some sci-fi elements to it, if I'm not wrong, which is also like pretty cool. I am hoping that that is a part of this, and if it is, it's gonna make it like even higher on my likelihood of this being a 5-star book. Next, We Hunt the Flame by Hafsa Faizal. We follow 2 characters. One is a hunter. She's giving some Mulan vibes because she's disguised herself as a man and she cannot be outed as a woman, otherwise it would be a terrible, terrible time. But we also follow Nazir, and he is the son of the Sultan. Essentially, I believe he's sent out to kill her. Something happens. I believe this one is going to be a 5-star though, because it does have that enemies to lovers romance subplot. Also, I've heard that it does have some fantastic fantasy world building and fantasy themes, because it is in fact a fantasy book primarily. Another thing that I believe that it's going to be a 5-star read for me is the fact that it is a duology and I don't have to read 7 books. And if you can wrap up a fantasy series in 2 books, instantly adds at least 1 star to my rating just for that point alone. This is why star ratings are so hard, because they're so subjective. All right, 2 more. We're nearly done. Next is Tress of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson. This is, I hear, standalone fantasy book set in one or both of Brandon Sanderson's worlds that he's created. I hear that it's quite akin to a cozy fantasy almost. I could be wrong. I have been wrong in the past about cozy fantasies and them not in fact being cozy fantasies. Tress has a friend, and he and his father end up sailing across the sea on a journey to find him a bride. Something goes wrong and Tress has to then traverse the Emerald Sea on a voyage to find a sorceress across the sea. Again, I really should have included this in my aesthetics book tag, because look at these chapter headers. They are beautiful. But not only that, there is also part dividers that are also gorgeous. I don't know if I need to have read Brandon Sanderson's other series to fully understand this. I really hope that I don't, because I do just want to read this as a standalone. But once again, standalone adds at least 1 star just for that alone, because it means that I have to read less to experience the same amount of joy. Another thing that just sort of sold me on this as well as potentially being a very, very good book that I will enjoy is that it says that it is a tale that will appeal to the fans of The Princess Bride. Sold. And finally, I didn't even intend this to end this way, but it appears that we're going to, is yet another Brandon Sanderson. It's the Mistborn trilogy, because this is the trilogy that everyone says to read when you read Brandon Sanderson. Once again, have owned these books for years and have not read them. It's a fantasy series. I believe that we are following the minority, the underdog, as they have to learn how to wield the magic of this world called allomancy, because that is the power of a Mistborn. There isn't much else to say. I suspect that given that this is a very consumable fantasy series from what I've heard from other people, and the fact that I feel like myself and Brandon Sanderson are compatible reader-writer wise, I have high hopes that this will be a 5-star series. The stakes are high, the hopes are high for this one. All right, can I make this work? I can in fact make this work. these are my 5-star predictions for my current TBR. I do have other books on the way that I could add in as honorable mentions, but I'm just not going to because we'll get there in a couple of weeks anyway. I think it would be super helpful if you could help me to know whether or not these are actually 5-star worthy books before I jump into them, but I am going to ask you to refrain from letting me know. My hope is that because I have high expectations for them, it will motivate me to actually read them a lot more than what it would if I know from reports from other people that they may not be as good as I want them to be. But I would love it if you could give me some other 5-star books, some other of your favorites. Please give me some good books to read because again, my book buying habits haven't changed and I don't plan on doing anything about it. So with all of that being said and done, those are my 5-star predictions. Thank you so much for joining me on this lovely little adventure today. I know I said there was a vlog coming this week, but clearly that's not the case. So my hope is that that's out next week, but I'm not gonna promise anything because it's me. There will be a video next week at the very least, I hope, and I will see you then. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you're having a fantastic day or night or whatever time it is where you are in the world. And as I said, I will see you next week. Goodbye.